Good morning. Here's the disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. All content is for informational purposes only, based on personal opinions and experiences. Trading futures, options, and other financial instruments involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. You can lose more than your initial investment, so always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional. Okay, news today. Look at that. Look at the news today. God damn. So we've got GDP growth rate quarter over quarter, which will probably be important because we are more growth oriented now that we're not in the interest rate regime. When we're more focused on interest rates and getting inflation down. So this will probably be an important number at 8:30, and then we've got core PCE price index and personal income at 10. So again, could be moving. We got Chicago PMI, so we'll more have to see at 10 a.m. And then 10:30, we've got the EIA as normal. So yeah, so this is pre-market, so it's really 10 and 10:30 we really got to watch out for during the day. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I put these in my alarm 10 minutes before so I remember, because I frequently forget about news when you get, too focused. But yeah, so that's the news for today. So we can go over the pre-market sheet quickly. So pre-market sheet, we have started one time framing on the daily. So still neutral, still no one time framing on the weekly, but we are one time framing lower on the daily. We're in an imbalanced condition again. We're in a small gap again right now. Potentially a bit larger gap than when I had last saw it. So it looks like it's increasing. It's about, 35 ticks maybe? Bit smaller than yesterday, but still worth noting. Like I said, this is the new swing. This is a swing high. You went from swing low to swing high. This swing is now done, so that's why I switched it. Once you sort of break back lower here, yeah, it's done. So it's pretty weak. I said it's a bit, bit better than the low, but it's still not a great high. Yesterday we've got an excess low, decent excess low, but we've got this double TPO high at the high that was not able to get fixed up. So we may not do that this week, or even I guess this month, because we end this week is end of month. But I think that's like a little marker basically that just says, okay, we'll be back. We'll be back here at some point. So we'll see. It doesn't look like it's gonna happen today, at least, but it may, right? It may. So it's worth marking down in the stock zone levels. And that's pretty much it, right? Like we had an overall a bearish day yesterday. We closed below IB. Value area is below the prior day's value area. So yeah, that's all good. And then for key levels above us, I've got settle overnight high, which could be very important today. We've got just below that, we've got yesterday's low, which would be the gap close. And then potentially yesterday's mid. I don't watch mids too much, but then the double TPO high, which lines up with yesterday's high. And then below us, we still don't have that much below us. I marked down these singles in the prior week low, which was an extended target for me yesterday that we couldn't get. And so those become significant today. You've got overnight low, and then similar to yesterday, like you've got these singles here, but similar to yesterday, below overnight low, I'm pretty much just zone to zone. Yeah, so that's that. So we can go back to the TPO. So like I said, I don't have my Epic Pen open. So like I said, you've got the double TPO high. You had a nice distribution yesterday. Like aside from this high, aside from the double TPO high, this is almost a perfect distribution. just a grind lower that's filling in along the way, not going too fast, so it has time to fill in, and you end the day with this kind of profile. Very nice looking profile, very balanced looking profile. Even though we were sort of choppy in a trend lower, it looks from the TPO more so like we were balanced, right? Um, yeah, so you had the decent low and you closed at the lows. And when I was doing my end of day video yesterday, which is at like 7:30, you were already down here at the lows at yesterday's low. And so it pretty much seemed to just chop around and continue a bit lower. Um, or it looks more so like we continued lower, we came down like to here to overnight low, or I guess it was down here 59.20, and then we started getting support back into the RTH open. I'll go through the overnight, but yeah, from the TPO, that's really it. Like I said, down here you're pretty much zone to zone. Gap days, the same things apply today for as they did yesterday. So we're opening in a gap. It's a bit smaller of a gap, and so it could get filled, and we could continue again, like the scenario I had yesterday. So the main three scenarios are the gap and go, where we just go. We have the gap and revert that reverts higher, and in this case, likely goes to try and fix up the high. And then you have the gap close scenario where it closes the gap and then it continues lower. So that's why settle is going to be important today. Settle overnight low, settle overnight high, which are in basically the same spot, and yesterday's low. This range is going to be key for figuring out what kind of day we're going to have. So if we completely reject it, we don't even touch it, that tells you, okay, gap and go. If we pull back and we get above it and we start trading above it, okay, likely wants to try and go for yesterday's high, or potentially, because we had the nice profile yesterday, just balance out in and around yesterday's profile. Or do we come in and we reject it and we continue lower, right? So this settle overnight higher is going to be a very, very important level or a very, very important area for me today. Yeah. And that's pretty much the main three scenarios. I think because yesterday was more of a nothing burger day, like it wasn't as directional as I had thought we would be with, the high volume that we had in the morning. I think that could end up happening today. We could get more of a whippy day, I guess. But in today's case, because there's a lot of news, it will likely be initiated from the news. So we may just have some decent volatility when the news comes out to do what it wants to do, and then sort of slow down again back into when there's no news. So that's more so what I'm thinking today. The nothing scenario, if we were to have it, would either be, if you sort of just balance below settle down here, it's like, okay, pretty much nothing. Or if you pop above, like I said before, and you kind of just do this above settle or through it, but within yesterday's profile kind of thing. But we'll see. And then going to the 30-minute, we've got overnight VPOC right here, and it's a decent overnight VPOC. Like I said, you see this sort of structure here. We traded here a good bit. And so this area lines up with the gap close and the settle range. And then we will watch overnight VPOC, but more so for just like an early trade, like I usually describe overnight VPOC. Like if we get a nice impulse away off the open that then pulls back and holds below, that's a good trade for me to take for the continuation, and vice versa for the gap close. If we impulse above overnight VPOC, come back, test it, hold, assume we go for settle or the gap close. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like, I don't really need to go much further than that. I think I'll just get right into the drawings because I've pretty much gone through all the scenarios that I'll be looking at today. Yeah, similar to yesterday as well. Overnight low is important. Overnight low sort of replaces um, yesterday's low in a gap lower day because you're always below the prior day's low in a gap lower, and vice versa with yesterday's high. Overnight high usually becomes yesterday's high in terms of significance. Like when you break yesterday's high, that's usually an indication that we're pretty directional, and it's pretty much the same with overnight when we're in a gap, at least for me. That's the way I perceive it, at least. So I do have to move this a bit. I got some complaints. That when I draw my boxes, it covers the volume profile and it's hard to see. So I'll try and just cover some of the price action. We've got this cluster. We've got this. Yeah, and above settle is pretty much just yesterday's stuff, like double TPO mid, full session mid, RTH mid. That kind of stuff. Yesterday's high, yesterday's RTH mid. Settle plus overnight high. Yesterday's low. Singles. Overnight low. So, yeah, these singles in this prior week low, I don't know, they're probably not going to be that important if we end up opening like right on top of them. They'll probably just get cleaned up right away, but they're still worth watching, right? So that's why. Okay, so most bullish day, which would be a gap and revert day. Like I said, you don't want to see this thing touch overnight in this case. Even if you get a bit of a pullback, you don't want to see it touch overnight. You want to see it move higher and be able to get through the overnight value area and push up to yesterday's high. If we can continue in a full reversion day, then you'd want to see it get above settle and stay above. If it can't stay above settle, then it could roll over pretty easily. And then if it does, like I said, we could potentially balance out up here above settle. If we do, and just sort of trade, if we sort of break above settle and, buyers are holding above, but they can't really be as aggressive as they were, that kind of thing, then you'd assume we just sort of balance out if buyers are still defending settle or the gap, out of prior day's range. So like I said, this cluster is key for a short scenario. If we get a rejection at settle and yesterday's low, like I said, then that could, because the gap's not huge, that could end up leading to a continuation on the sell side. So we get resistance, boom, we break lower, we break back below, overnight value, and start continuing lower. I don't really have the space for it, but we could continue from here down to below overnight low. And then that's pretty much what the just straight bearish gap and go day would look like as well, just without the pullback. So if we were just a gap and go, we just start moving lower. Maybe we check overnight VPOC, maybe we don't. Take overnight low, and then below here is zone to zone for me. So yeah, I'll be watching overnight low for support, definitely. That's pretty much the only area. Below us, potentially, like I said, overnight VPOC as well. If we, break above like this, or I'll draw here. If we can impulse above overnight VPOC and pull back, hold it to then continue higher. So I'll get rid of this one, but that's also a possibility, which I mentioned, but it's kind of busy, so. And potentially if we pull back, we hold settle. We could also, like I said, balance out down below settle, below yesterday's low, and just kind of turned sideways from there. It's kind of busy. Didn't have that much space to draw, but it's good enough. So let me just take a picture for myself, and I will come back and end this off. Whoops. Okay, so here's the final look at the plan. Pretty much the same as yesterday. Like, I don't know, I feel like I repeat myself a lot, but that's because I'm just consistent in the things I'm looking at, right? And so, and also at the same time, it's like, I do try and cover most of my bases because, market is random. And so we could, pretty much do anything. And so, like, every reaction has, three at least what it can do. It can continue going up, reject it. It can go up, it can go down, and it can go sideways pretty much. And like then it's really just a matter of how it does it, right? Which gives more information. But I mean, I'm going to keep doing them. Like these are really good for me and just getting aligned with my plan, just going through it and verbally, saying it out loud. I find I remember it much better. And I can uh, think back on it during the day without, having to look at a piece of paper, or look at my plan and read the paragraphs I wrote out. Like sometimes I will go back and watch my own videos, but I usually don't need to. But anyway, I'm just rambling on here, so I'll end this, and hopefully we have some good trades today that I can show you at the end of day. So happy trading, and I will see you then.